Hey there, quickly recapping, we're taking input from a user, we're counting how many times the big H and little h show up, and then printing it out to the user. Cool, let's go ahead and do this. Just like with last time, I'm going to create a new file in my challenges folder. Again, doesn't matter where you do this as long as you actually solve the problem. Alright, so step 1, we take an input message from the user. We've done this several times by now, so hopefully you're getting really comfortable with it. I'm going to say message is equal to input message. And now, if you recall, in the for loop video lesson, we went over an example of looping through the characters in a string. And so that's what you would do here. For character or char in message, and now in each run through of the loop, char is pointing to one of those characters. Just like the string equality comparison that we did before, we can just do a direct check if char is double equal sign to h in quotes. But now we run into a snag. How can we keep track of the number of times we have seen big H or little h? Well, we can use a variable for that, right? So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to create variables, big H and little h, and set them to 0. And notice here how I put these variables above the loop. That's because we want these values to persist between different iterations of the loop. If you put it inside the loop and then indented, we would be setting big H and little h to 0 every single time we looped, and so we'd essentially lose the results on each run through. So back in our conditional statement, if the character is big H, I'm going to increment our big H counter by 1 plus equals, you've seen this before, and else if the character is little h, then I'm going to increment the little h counter, and that's all we have to do inside the loop. So back down here below the loop, and remember to indent back outward to be out of the scope of the loop. Otherwise you'd be printing output on every single run through. And then finally, we print out a message with the variable values. You've seen all this before, F for format, and then the variable names inside curly braces. And that, I believe, fulfills our requirements. Let's go ahead and write these changes and then test our program. Alright, new window, I'm going to execute this program, and then for the input message, I'm actually just going to copy directly what's in the prompt. So I copy this, I paste it in, and then we get the same results, 0 and 3. Let's try the next example. Good, 3 and 1, and then finally, good, 3 and 3. And that's it for this challenge. In the next video, we're going to switch gears slightly and focus a little bit more on theory, and that's Boolean algebra and logic. Why? Because you need to know it as a programmer. It shows up in lots of places, and it is a key component in the managing of multiple conditions. See you in the next lesson.